Okay, so today we are joined by Josh Hamler of the fantastic Sharman's Harvest. So, first of all, welcome. Thank you for chatting to us today. That is an
Honor.
incredible jacket you've got on there. One, where can I get it? And two, am I able to steal it from you when you're in London?
Well, it's probably small for you, but it's an affliction jacket. Jose Mangan at Sirius XM Octane gave it to me years ago, so I like it. It's cool.
It is a very cool jacket, I'm not going to lie. Um, Now, the first question I've got for you, it really basically comes down to you guys have been recording albums and records and everything since the early 2000s. You've
Yeah.
actually built up quite an impressive following here in the UK. Um, and I just want to know what actually took you so long to actually get to the UK? What's the journey behind getting across the pond and finally
Oh, it's
seeing us?
for the longest time, it's been something we wanted to do. We wanted to get across the pond to come to England and Ireland, Scotland, Wales, you name it, even to Europe. But for whatever reason, we had opportunity in years past to come over, but we were an opening act with a band that made the calls, and so something would come up in their camp, and the tour would fall short, or a pandemic hit in 2020. Just it's like you name it, something happened and caused it not to happen. And so we were kind of talking about that stuff with our buddies in Blacktop Mojo a few months back. And we kind of thought, what's stopping us from just doing this ourselves? No excuses. Both bands kind of doing a co-headline tour together, use each other, kind of review style to where we're using a lot of the same gear. We're using the same crew, kind of keeping our footprint as minimal as possible. And then we booked the tour, and then the tickets started selling, and then we added 6 7 more dates because the response was so good. So in all the years that it's taken us to make this happen, it's really just rising the intensity of the excitement of the event. It's like 20 years in the making.
Cool. So you sort of mentioned that you've like there's been chances that you would have come over. Was one of them by chance like the absolute disaster that was COVID that kind of got in the way there?
Yeah, that was one of them. Earlier on, like we were supposed to come over and do a UK Europe run with Blackstone Cherry, and then that fell through. And then we were going to come through and do something with 3 Days Grace, and then that fell through. And so, it's just been one of those things where it wasn't necessarily our decision that the plug. And so, after all this time and still being here, being ourselves and writing music, and we have a new single dropping on January 30th called Rock and Roll Queen. It's a
Cool.
bang. So it's just been an evolution of music, and it's been like our life. It's who we are. It's what we do, and for all of us in the band, it's just an incredible journey.
Cool. Now, you already mentioned Blacktop Mojo, and I'll be honest, I'd not heard of them until I saw them supporting you. So I was like, I better have a listen at least.
Yeah.
Cracking band, I cannot lie. I'm looking forward to, without being rude, forget that Shaman's Harvest. I'll go and check them out, and then I'll go to the pub. I'm only joking. I'm going to catch you as well, of course. But what's the story behind those guys coming on board with this tour? Because you sort of alluded to it a little bit that you guys were just like, let's do this ourselves.
Yeah, we toured with those guys multiple times over the years, over the last 10 years anyway. And we just got to become friends with them. And then they had a writing session down in Nashville last year, and Drake, our singer, happened to just pop in to hang out and chill with them. And we just have a common bond and a common you know what's the right word for it? We're just kindred in what we're trying to accomplish. And so, there's enough people out there trying to kick you down and to keep you from reaching those dreams. And so when you find people that kind of have the same dream as you and want to help you and you want to help them, man, it really makes it all work.
Cool. Now, obviously, that's good. That's a great support act. Well, you actually sort of said it's more of a joint headlining thing, which is quite sweet, actually. Because it just means both bands get as much time together. But if you could take anyone on tour with you, even as a support act, someone that you really want to promote or a band that you would idolize just to share a stage with, who would you go on tour with?
Gosh, that's an incredible question. I mean, we've been blessed by getting to share the stage with everyone from ACDC to Cheap Trick, to sound to Seven Dust to Seether to Breaking Benjamin. Like we've Theory of a Dead Man. We've got to tour with all these acts. So, I think we'd probably have to go back to a band like Thin Lizzy or something like that. That is there's no way it's possible. But man, that would be incredible. Get to share the stage with those guys.
Well, no one said it had to be someone working today, did they?
That's right.
So ultimately, absolutely, that would be a cool one actually, because Thin Lizzy band, I'd never had the opportunity to see. Now, obviously, you're coming over to the UK. It's quite an extensive tour. There's a lot of dates going on. Out of all the places you're coming to visit in the UK, I mean, I'm not sure if you've ever been to the UK or anything before, like aside from being in the band, but where are you most excited to actually come and check out UK wise, and why?
Well, the historical factor of the UK and rock and roll is just like that's kind of on its pedestal of its own. I mean, getting to come to some of these towns that historically some of the biggest rock bands in the world have came from, or play a venue that bands, or even a band like Oasis played back on whenever they're on their come up back in the day. It's kind of just like a mecca event for us, getting to come over and be a part of the culture and the scene. And again, it's hard to narrow it down to just one particular place. But I have been to London before, but that's about the extent of my experience in the UK. So we're really looking forward to just taking it all in. It's really a monumental event for us in our career.
Cool. Well, I know you're in Birmingham. I think it's on the 8th of March. When you're in Birmingham, you've got to find time to go to the Black Sabbath bench. So there's a bench in the city centre that's dedicated to Black Sabbath. I live in the UK, London-based. Shamefully enough, never been and sat on that bench. Might do that. I think I need to do that. You're inspiring me now.
Well, maybe we can go together.
Sounds like a plan, man. I'm in.
All right.
Now, globally, where else would you really want to play a live show if you could go anywhere in the entire world?
We have our bucket list places, and the UK, Ireland area was one of them, but we also would love to get to mainland Europe, and we'd also love to get to the Australia, to the other side of the world, and kind of do some things down there. We have an incredible fan base all over the world. We just yet to have the opportunity to go perform there. So I think with showing with this About Time tour that we can pull this stuff off on our own. We've been touring the United States and North America for the better part of 25 years. And so, it's a lot of those bucket list venues that we've got to play them. We've done all these things. And a lot of what that fire that keeps us going is knowing that there's something we haven't done yet. We're going to go try to do. So, the fact that we have this tour coming up, it just makes me feel like we're going to get to Europe. It just makes me feel like we're going to get to Australia. It makes me feel like we're going to get to South America. And so, it's just one at a time, but, you gotta have all your ducks in a row, and you got to make it worthwhile.
Well, you're making it over to the UK and Ireland in 2025. Let's make 2026 the year of Australia. Go to the land down under. I hope you're not scared of spiders, though,
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, you're playing some of the UK's best mid-sized venues, and like mid-sized venues for me are like almost the perfect ones. They're not sort of small enough, or they're not so small that the sound system's crap. They're not huge, so I can't even see the guy on stage without looking to the TV monitor to the left.
Right.
What do you prefer? Do you prefer like the huge, grand, large stadium-style stages, the mid-sized ones, which I've already said, my personal favourite, or do you like those small bar-style ones where literally you haven't even got a security guard to keep the rabble away?
Yeah, I'd have to say the smallest of the venues, the ones where the crowd can smell our breath. We love to put on a hot, sweaty rock and roll show. If we're not sweating during our show, we're not working hard enough. Like, we put on a working man's rock and roll performance. And, we played on the biggest stages. We play. I love a mid-sized venue, but those small venues that just like where everybody is like, just, there's no there's no social distancing.
Yeah,
Those are kind of what we love the most.
cool. So your last record, like I think it was like around about 2002. You've already like flagged to me that there's a new single on the horizon, which is great because I mean, you know, I discovered you guys literally last year, and it was one of those sort of epiphany moments of, hey, there's this cool new band. They're not new. What happened? How have they not been on my radar before? But you've got a new single coming out. Is there anything else that we can expect for 2025? Are we going to perhaps get a surprise new music on this tour for fans?
You know, I think there's a really good chance of that. You know, right now, I think what we're focused on this year is releasing singles. And when there's enough of them to release an album, we'll release the album. We have a bunch of new songs that we've written. Right now, we're writing independently of a producer or anything like that. But so there's a really good chance that some of these, you know, for the first time ever, are going to be performed on this particular tour. But that being said, we have a 7 record catalog that
Yeah,
but there's a lot of tunes there. I think close to 60 that we could choose from any and all of them. But of course, we have our mainstay, our hit songs that have been great for us in the States. That all of that stuff's gonna be part of the set. And yeah, this new song, Rock and Roll Queen, man, it is a banger, and it's so fun to play live. It's really just one of those songs that makes the girls jump up and down.
not going to complain on that. That's what just don't get offended if you see me in the corner doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Um, but you mentioned like you've got a whole heap of singles on the cards coming out now. I still think about this quite regularly. You know, back in the day, the ultimate goal was to get that album out. That's how people consume music. But the way everyone consumes music now has just drastically changed. And although an album like, is always an incredible thing to have, do you feel it's necessary in the way we consume music anymore? Or do you think get your music out in multiple ways, through the streaming services and do more the collector's items like vinyls and things?
Yeah, that's kind of how the market has shifted towards that. One of the I get asked all the time because we've been around so long, like what's one of the biggest things that, changes between back in the day and now. And actually it's a societal thing. Like society is a subscription based society now.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, like you owned it. You bought the CD, you bought the LP, you bought the cassette tape. It was yours. You could take it with you where you want. And now you subscribe to Spotify, or you like and subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you're viewing or streaming or any of that. So having that physical product, the cost of having to have a physical product, bands don't have to have that anymore. You can have a link to your digital music and it just get around everywhere. In our case, I just got a notification from Apple Music that one of our songs called Blood in the Water just had its 100th stream in Uzbekistan. Well, that would have never happened if it was just relying on, physical CD product, whatever. But because of streaming, it just widens the scope for any and all musicians, or any and all artists for that matter. So it's something that purists, like I'm a tube guy. I like tube amps. I'm a purist when it comes to that, but I'm also a realist when you can't let technology pass you by, because it's going to, if you don't stay connected to it. So if you want to have longevity in most careers anymore, you can't count on 20 years ago to get you through. You need to stay caught up with the times.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting you say that because I was when the download generation started and things like that, and the iPod and everything started appearing. I was like, no, I want my CD. I'm going down to my HMV and my Virgin Megastore. I'm going to get the latest record. And they closed in my local town. They were gone,
Right.
and I sort of got forced into the download generation. And it's not. It's only been in the last few years. I say the last few years, pre-COVID. I still that
Sure.
time frame has messed me up quite substantially, actually. But pre-COVID, I suddenly realised I don't have a CD player anymore. So I got a wall of CDs over there, but nothing to actually play it on. So I don't know. I've kind of felt I got forced into this download generation. But I love technology, so I'm embracing it, man. And as you said, like 100th listen in Uzbekistan, who knew?
Who knew? I
Exactly.
called me left field. I was like, wow, okay, well, something's working in our favor. We're just gonna keep
Yeah.
rolling.
Cool. Now, between touring, recording, and creating music and everything like that, what do you actually prefer out of the two? Do you actually prefer the creativity of getting into a studio or getting with the band and writing a new song, or do you actually prefer taking that out on the road and seeing the reaction of fans?
You know, I guess over the years it's changed a little bit. We've always been a on the road dog kind of band, and blue collar, work hard, rock hard kind of band. Leave it all on stage every night. You know, and after doing that for 20 plus years, you start to realize that, you know, it's the artistic moments. It's the moments when the band's in the studio where everything like hits for the first time, and we all look at each other with like this numbness, like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? This is a banger. This is a smash. This is like, it's kind of how whenever we wrote Dragonfly, our first actual hit song, it was one of those moments. It literally took under 30 minutes to write that song front to back, and immediately it took off. Like we didn't even almost have a choice. Like it got leaked to US radio, and it was like charting before we even knew that it was charting. So you know, songs that kind of do that on their own, that just have that organic je ne sais quoi, that just like they just have those things. And when you're in the studio and you're creating it and you're in that moment, and it's not just you, it's a collective, man, it's really a hard feeling to beat. Like that, it just feels like spiritual.
Cool. Now, do you like if you could actually collaborate with anyone on a song, anyone, and we're going to say living or dead, who would you most like to collaborate with? I mean, you mentioned Thin Lizzy, so you can't say them again, man.
Yeah, okay, we'll leave them alone. But you know, I mean, gosh, man, there's so many talented people out there, and so many past and present. Um, you know, it's just a really hard. It's really hard to narrow it down to one person or group. You know, I think a lot of times I like to find somebody that pulls me away from what my normalcy would be, and maybe doing something with Rob Zombie would be cool. You know, I mean,
Cool.
our music genres don't necessarily blend, but that's kind of what I'm looking for. Like that's what I look for in a producer, like somebody that can like break me out of my box and maybe go down this alleyway that I wouldn't have went down before, and I find the coolest pub I ever found. So you know, it's like I like to be steered off road a little bit to figure out a way to get back to it and then carry on with that knowledge base.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that actually, because I've always found like rock music, even though it is its own genre, it's a genre in itself. It's so eclectic and you can pull it into anything else. I mean, hip hop and rock music have always intertwined in a really bizarre way, and they're very different ends of the spectrum. So yeah, it could go anywhere.
Right.
Um, I've only got one question left for you today. It's not really a question, more a request for a story. So this year, I'm doing at the end of all my interviews something I like to call Tales of Touring Terror. So I'm after a story of something absolutely insane that might have happened to you, or you can even throw a member of the band under the bus. Something crazy that's happened, touring, gross, unbelievable, surreal.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Well, I will say, we were on the road and we were doing a radio promo event in Flint, Michigan. We were playing the world famous Machine Shop, and the radio station there, great people. And it was a bowling event where we got to go bowling with the fans. And no one was playing, like, none of us in the band were involved in the game other than we got to go up and bowl, like take a bowl with each group that was there. And somehow I bowled 86 strikes in a row, lane to 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 lane. And then the bowling alley gave me the ball and took my picture and hung it on their wall of fame. And then I did a radio interview the next day, and the guys in the band didn't want me to have the bowling ball on the bus because obvious reasons it's going to roll around and break someone's face in the middle of the night. And so we gave it to the radio station, and it's hanging up in the banana right next to Kid Rock's cigar. So that's
See, it's 86 in a row. Do you know what? When I was a kid, I used to be part of a bowling league. I was lucky if I could get a hat trick. 86.
86, man. I've never done it again, and I probably won't. But it was incredible. I was on one at that night.
That has to be some sort of record. It has to be, my man. But Josh, I want to thank you so much for chatting to us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm really looking forward to catching you in London at the Islington Academy.
Yeah.
Great venue, great vibes in that part of London.
Killer.
Hope to see you soon, mate. Take
All
care
right.
and thank you.
Appreciate you.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Take care.